Segundo medio, Unit 1, Video 2.
Esta es una guía rápida de símbolos dentro de las cápsulas. Cuando veas este símbolo, listen, tienes que escuchar atentamente lo que dice el tutor. Cuando veas este símbolo, watch, tienes que ver atentamente lo que aparece en la pantalla. Cuando veas este símbolo, repeat, tienes que repetir lo que dice el tutor. Cuando veas este símbolo, point, tienes que apuntar con tu dedo al lugar apropiado de la pantalla. Cuando veas este símbolo, your turn, significa que es tu turno para hablar. Si necesitas más ayuda, revisa el instructivo.
Let's talk. Globalization.
Hey there! Welcome back! My name is Patrick, and I will be your tutor for this lesson.
Hi, I'm Sophia.
Hey, Sophia!
Hello, I'm Vicente.
Hi, Vicente. Today, we are going to continue learning to talk about our opinions about globalization. Should we get started?
Yes.
Great! Let's go! In the last video, we watched a news report about globalization. Do you remember which person thinks globalization can facilitate international cooperation? Was it Catherine or was it David? Don't worry, let's watch again.
Welcome to this special report. Today we investigate globalization. What are the advantages and disadvantages? Join us as we talk to 3 people from different parts of the world and ask them what they think. We are now crossing over to David in Toronto, Canada. David, how do you feel about globalization?
I think that it can create opportunities for cultural exchange. I listen to a lot of music from Japan, and one day I want to travel there and study Japanese. It can also expand access to new products. I love to eat tacos, and they're originally from Mexico.
Thank you, David. We are now connecting with Catherine in Atlanta, USA. Catherine, how do you feel about globalization?
I have learned that it can contribute to climate change. With the expansion of international commerce, countries increase their production of goods and services, which creates more greenhouse gas emissions and pollution. On the other hand, I think that it can also facilitate international cooperation to help solve global problems.
Thank you, Catherine. We will now connect with Max in Budapest, Hungary. Max, how do you feel about globalization?
In my opinion, it can threaten cultural identities and it can harm local economies. Many indigenous societies have sustainable economies which are connected to their local community and ecosystem. Globalization can destroy these ecosystems and traditional ways of living.
Thank you, Max. That concludes our special report on globalization. We will now take a short break.
That was an interesting video. So, do you remember which person thinks globalization can facilitate international cooperation? Was it Catherine or was it David? That's right, it was Catherine. Also, do you remember, was it Max's opinion that globalization can expand access to new products? Or was it that it can harm local economies? That's right. It was that it can harm local economies.
Let's learn.
Oh, look, another commercial for the superstore.
Come on down to the superstore, where you can find everything that you need, with products from all over the world. We have fruits from the Caribbean. We have vegetables from South America. We have meats from North America, cheeses from Europe, junk food from somewhere. And it's all cheap, very cheap, thanks to globalization. So don't forget to make a trip to the superstore.
Globalization is such a powerful force.
It's so amazing. We no longer are just members of our own community, but members of a global community.
Well, it's not so simple. Globalization can also have negative consequences.
It can?
It can.
How? In my opinion, it can facilitate international cooperation.
Well, it can, but also I think it can contribute to climate change.
But I have learned that it can create opportunities for cultural exchange.
Well, it can, but I have learned that it can threaten cultural identities.
Wow.
But wait, it's not all bad. Have you ever heard the expression, you have to see both sides of the coin?
No.
Oh. Basically, it means that you have to consider both the advantages and the disadvantages of any topic, especially one like globalization.
Let's pronounce.
First, let's practice the pronunciation of the question. Listen. How do you feel about globalization? Repeat. Good. Again. Listen. How do you feel about globalization? Repeat. Nice. Now, let's practice the pronunciation of the response. Listen. It can. Repeat. Good. Again. Listen. It can. Repeat. Very good. Now, let's practice with the language we learned in the last video. Listen.
I think that it can create opportunities for cultural exchange.
Repeat. Good. Listen.
I think that it can threaten cultural identities.
Repeat. Good. Listen. In my opinion, it can expand access to new products. Repeat. Good. Listen. In my opinion, it can harm local economies. Repeat. Good. Listen. I have learned that it can facilitate international cooperation. Repeat. Good. Listen. I have learned that it can contribute to climate change. Repeat. Good.
Let's practice.
Now, let's practice this language with the song. First, just listen.
How do you feel about globalization?
I think that it can contribute to climate change.
How do you feel about globalization?
In my opinion, it can expand access to new products.
How do you feel about globalization?
I have learned that it can threaten cultural identities.
Now, Sophia, I will ask the question and you respond.
How do you feel about globalization?
I think that it can create opportunities for cultural exchange.
How do you feel about globalization?
I have learned that it can facilitate international cooperation.
How do you feel about globalization?
In my opinion, it can harm local economies.
Now, it's your turn to respond. Are you ready?
How do you feel about globalization? 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 How do you feel about globalization?
Nice job. Now, Vicente, you will ask the question and I'll respond.
How do you feel about globalization?
I think that it can create opportunities for cultural exchange.
Now, it's your turn to ask the question.
I have learned that it can facilitate international cooperation. In my opinion, it can harm local economies.
Let's talk.
I can't decide how I feel about globalization.
Me neither. There is just too much to consider.
It's a complicated topic. Why don't we talk about the specific issues that we see on the television?
Okay.
Hold on. I'm getting an international phone call from Egypt. I'll be right back.
Globalization, society, and nature.
How do you feel about globalization, Vicente?
I have learned that it can contribute to climate change.
Globalization and culture.
How do you feel about globalization, Sophia?
In my opinion, it can create opportunities for cultural exchange.
I'm back.
I'll be back later. I'm going to go to my online Portuguese class.
I'm leaving too. I'm going to have lunch at the Chinese market.
Now it's our turn to talk about the specific aspects of globalization. First, I will ask the question and you respond.
Globalization and the economy. How do you feel about globalization? Globalization, society, and nature. How do you feel about globalization? Globalization and culture. How do you feel about globalization? Globalization in general.
Now it's your turn to ask the question.
I have learned that it can contribute to climate change and harm local economies, but, in my opinion, it can create opportunities for cultural exchange and facilitate international cooperation.
You did a great job talking about the advantages and the disadvantages of globalization. I had fun, and I hope that you did too. I'll see you next time. Take care.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Let's talk.